And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we do get into today's video, as always, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. So hopefully you guys are all okay. We've got a lot to cover in today's video with transfers and some general news from around the club in the last 24 hours as well. So as you can tell by the title, we got some huge Celtic transfer news as a deal is now set to be agreed. Now this is a really big story that I want to go over in just a moment. But before I do cover that, I wanted to cover the story with regards to Raul Hatzarte because he's put up a very promising Instagram post in the last 24 hours following his goal scoring performance in our 4-0 victory over Kilmarnock on Flag Day. Now, throughout this transfer window, he has been linked with a move away, of course. On his side, he always looked pretty happy at the club. He looked like he wanted to stay at Celtic. But of course, when a player performs well, there is interest gained from across Europe and other teams that want to sign that player. And of course, Leicester had shown interest in him at some point throughout the summer transfer window. Now, thankfully, those rumours have quieted down a little bit and they've been put to bed. And it seems like he will stay at Celtic, of course, especially given the fact that his midfield partner, Matt O'Reilly, is very much in the headlines constantly with transfer speculation. So we can't really afford to lose both of them. But thankfully, those rumours have been put to bed really and died down. But yeah, he put a post up after the Kilmarnock game, or he put a post up yesterday actually, saying, "Let's go. Thank you for your support. I'll do it." Now, this is very promising to see from a Celtic fan's point of view because, of course, in the picture, he looks very happy. He celebrated his goal. It seems like he's ready to kick on for this season and put all these rumours behind him and just focus on his football at Celtic, which is really cool to see. What you can say about both our midfield players, Matt O'Reilly and Hatzarte, is that they are extremely really good professionals. Regardless of the noise around them, they stayed focused on their football, stayed focused on the vision, which is to help Celtic as much as they can. And you have to give credit where credit's due to Hatzarte and, of course, to O'Reilly. They are very, very professional. And I'm very happy to see Hatzarte happy at the club. Of course, when Rodgers came in last season, he did struggle to get into the team for the first few games. Rodgers opted to use Turnbull for the first 2 to 3 games, of course, whilst Hatzarte was on the bench. And when he came in, he kind of took a bit of time to adapt to the new style of play. But towards the end of the season, he kicked on and he had a very good end to his campaign. And I think this year's going to be a good year for Hatzarte. I think he's got to grips with how Rodgers wants to play, what position he wants to kind of play with under him, and stuff like that. So I think it's a very big season for Hatzarte. And I think that performance on Sunday is a sign of things to come this season from the midfielder. And I'm looking very forward to seeing what he can achieve with Rodgers and Celtic this season. Now, let's go back to the biggest transfer story of the summer transfer window from Celtic, and that is the ongoing future of Matt O'Reilly. Now, this is an interesting development today because there's 2 parts of this story that I want to go over. So, the first one involves Conor Gallagher. So, Conor Gallagher is currently on his way to Atletico Madrid from Chelsea, and Chelsea have identified Matt O'Reilly as Conor Gallagher's long-term replacement. Now, I was kind of critical of Chelsea because they are selling an academy graduate in Gallagher to raise money for FFP, which is £40 million the deal is, or €40 million. That's 100% profit for Chelsea's point of view. And then they're going to spend £25 million on Matt O'Reilly because that's, of course, our asking price. But I can't really blame Chelsea. I guess it's the way football is now, especially in the Premier League where the fees are so high. They are all constantly treading that line with FFP. And it's really sad to see what football's become, especially in the English league, where they have to sell their academy graduates and then sign someone else like O'Reilly to basically generate money and generate income. It's really, really sad. Of course, as well as that, I guess the Matt O'Reilly one's not as bad, but they're signing players from Brazil that don't know much about Chelsea, and then they're selling a player that loves the club. He's been there since he was a kid. So it's really sad to see what modern day football's like, especially in the English league, because the money's just crazy over there. But back to the actual story here. So Gallagher has reportedly agreed to personal terms with Atletico Madrid and is set to undergo a medical, finalising his move to the Spanish club, Fabrizio Romano reports. So this development not only ends Atletico Madrid's potential interest in O'Reilly, whom they had previously bid £18 million for in January, but also propels Chelsea into the transfer market for a new midfielder. A bit of a shining light on the situation is now Atletico Madrid won't be after Matt O'Reilly, but of course Chelsea will take their place and be after him instead. Now, it's also reported, this is a different part of the story, that Brighton, of course, were interested in O'Reilly as well. They've reportedly put a bid in for over £25 million for O'Reilly, which of course exceeds Celtic's transfer asking price for him. So Celtic probably would accept that bid for Brighton, but it'll be interesting to see if Chelsea do match that and go after him as well. As I mentioned for weeks, like loads of weeks now, that I think O'Reilly's future is inevitable, that he will be playing his football elsewhere come the end of this transfer window, which is really sad, but we all get a lot of money for him. But history tells us that we won't spend it correctly, so I'd rather keep the player if we can, but it does seem more and more likely as every hour of this transfer window goes past that he will no longer be a Celtic player by the end of this window, which is a little bit frustrating. So there's probably now the two front runners are Chelsea and Brighton. I'd say Brighton even more so after reportedly they put a bid in for him exceeding £25 million for the player. Now, I spoke yesterday about if I was in O'Reilly's shoes and I couldn't stay at Celtic, I probably would go to Brighton just because they're very good at developing young talent. And if you go to Brighton as well, you pretty much guaranteed a transfer to Chelsea into 2 to 3 years as well, because they do love raiding that club. So regardless, either way, if he goes to Brighton or Chelsea this transfer window, I'm sure he'll be a Chelsea player in the future. So it's a very interesting story here, but of course it all stems from Conor Gallagher's transfer to Atletico Madrid, which then puts Chelsea in the market for a new midfielder, which will be Matt O'Reilly as things stand. But yeah, of course, Matt O'Reilly is a superb player. He had a great game again on Sunday against Kilmarnock. Hopefully that's not the last time you see him in a Celtic shirt. Hopefully we can get a few more appearances out of him before he does inevitably leave this transfer window. But yeah, it does seem more and more likely that will happen sooner rather than later. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts on this situation, of course. I mean, I guess the good news is that Hatate is happy at Celtic. He wants to stay. But his future was never too much in doubt anyway. It was more so just speculation that Leicester were interested in him. Whereas O'Reilly now looks like he's going to leave the club. But again, I can't praise him enough for what he's done for Celtic and what he's even done during this whole saga as well. I said it earlier on in the video with him and Hatate being true professionals when it comes to focusing on the game, focusing on the football, and not letting the noise outside of football get to their heads and just staying stuck to the vision of Celtic Football Club, which is to win every game in the league, try and compete in Europe. That's what they want to do, and I'm happy for him to get his big move, but it's later in the transfer market. But we need to find a replacement for him, of course. But yeah, he will leave the club at some point in this transfer window, which is a shame. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below what we discussed in today's video. I'm very keen to know what you make of this transfer saga. Also, if you haven't yet already, make sure you do like the video and make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more Celtic content, because the transfer window is going to get crazy in the next few weeks, especially if we sell Matt O'Reilly. We have to find a replacement for him. So yeah, drop a like, subscribe. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.